everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. And I'm Matt Connerton, and there's an empty chair next to me. The Honorable Gary S. Hopper has not yet arrived. And I haven't heard from Gary, so I don't know if he's stuck in traffic or what. It gets pretty bad out there this time of year. So anyway, we are in our new studio here at TV23. As you can see, there are monitors, multiple monitors behind me instead of just one. And this is pretty cool. I definitely like the new vibe of the place here. So it's very sort of, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is exactly. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's a little fancier in a way. That's not quite. Maybe by the end of the show I'll think of the right word. So I don't know where Gary is, but you know, there's always plenty to talk about. We can kind of roll along until he gets here, or I assume he's coming. He didn't let me know anything to the contrary. So anybody out there who is watching, if you want to call in, 603-413-0223. You can also text at 603-344-6491 if you want to opine on anything. There's certainly no shortage of issues to talk about. Obviously, what happened in Connecticut recently in Newtown has everybody talking about gun control or the potential for gun control, and of course the arguments about protecting our Second Amendment rights and all that. So there is that. I don't know. I mean, whether or not it's okay to start talking about the politics of it is up to the individual. Some people were very nervous about politicizing it too soon, but it seems to be already happening. So we can always talk about that if anyone wants to discuss that. There's also, of course, the fiscal cliff. This afternoon, I saw John Boehner come out and give probably the shortest political speech in history, talking about how they were rejecting the president's newest offer as far as the budget goes, and it was very, very quick. And I think the Honorable Gary S. Hopper has arrived. So he probably got lost on his way to the new studio. Hi, Gary. He can't hear me. No. He can't hear you. I thought he was just blind. I didn't know he was deaf. And the gentleman with him, I seem to remember, the pastor Bob McKenna? Yeah. Yes. Hey, welcome. So anyway, so here we go. We'll finally get underway here.
Holy mackerel, this is all brandy new.
Yes.
I'm confused.
I know.
Oh, sorry, we couldn't find a place to park.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. You're probably stuck in traffic or looking for a spot, because this time of year it gets pretty hectic out there.
Bright. I'm going to bring my shades next week.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Would you like mine?
No.
They're in my jacket.
No, it's okay.
You can go right over your glasses.
I'll burn my retina.
All right.
What the heck is this?
I don't know.
That's
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is bright, huh?
Gotta wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot.
What'd you forget?
In my coat. Give me a second.
All right.
We got to say a prayer for somebody.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, Pastor, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Welcome back. You
Thanks,
were with
Matt.
us. You were with us the
With
last
Santa
Christmas show, right?
Last year, yeah.
And we had Santa with us, of course, who I guess is not joining us this time.
Yeah, he has some sort of emergency out of town.
I assumed maybe he was just busy.
Yeah.
It is a busy
Could
time
be.
of year for him.
Population
Busy
increasing.
That's right. All right.
All right.
What
Here
have
we
we got?
go. Yeah, Santa Claus, i.e. or John Burt, called and said he was on the way to Mass General.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, well, it's not him. It's his friend. He has this, I believe they're elderly couple that he's been helping out. And the lady's name is Marquita Miller.
Okay.
And he's going with her, I guess, to Mass General right now. And her husband is unlikely to make it through the week.
Oh, wow.
So he's pretty upset and asked us to pray for him. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have the pastor. Because I don't know how to do that.
Oh. Well, this will be a teachable moment.
This will be a teachable moment.
So what do you learn in church? When you go to church, you don't learn that in there?
I usually fall asleep.
I understand. Well, I did when I was a kid.
Oh, I shouldn't say that.
That's okay. He sits right near the front, so
Right?
he's within reach.
So you know what's going on. You can help him with something.
Yeah.
And he does, too.
Usually he's chiming in.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a talker. He likes to
I
get up and
know.
talk.
I'm a
A
wiseacre.
little on the
is what it-
charismatic side.
I was, I used to when we've gone through some pastors. One, I don't know how many years ago. Was it 3 years ago? Charlie Ford was pastor.
Yes.
About three. Charlie Ford was a really wonderful pastor. He's the one who led us. This is dramatic. From the gates of hell and back towards the Word of God. But yeah, that's pretty good. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, our church had gone, let's say, astray, and we'd be, and churches, a lot of churches are doing that on a constant basis, where they're following culture as opposed to the Bible. Mm-hmm. Which following the culture is okay if you're not a church, but if you're a church and you're following culture and you're not following the Word of God, then basically you could believe anything over time.
Right.
I mean,
Makes sense.
I mean, if right now, I guess the big issue is gay marriage. Well, what's what's going to prevent you if you're going to completely disregard the Bible? There are no limitations as to what you can accept as being okay in the church, and we were headed that way for a long time. And Charlie and some people in the church pushed us back towards the Bible, and that was Charlie Ford. But anyway, I used to chime in all the time when Charlie was up there. Just something strike me as funny. I have to say it. It's like this Tourette's thing,
And that's allowed?
Not. It shouldn't be.
He always laughs at the most
Oh yeah, I
comfortable
do that.
times,
That's
right.
not. Oh yeah.
It's like
yeah.
the only person that's laughing like, that was supposed to be funny.
But then we had Pastor Olson, who was an older gentleman, a wonderful gentleman, who kind of was an interim pastor when Charlie retired, and he couldn't hear, and so I would like interject something, and he'd be like confused as to what I said, and it was so disruptive I had to stop. So I kind of actually
I am confused sometimes too.
yeah. But anyway, so you actually got it easy because I had to go through Pastor Olson for a while, and that kind of
Broke me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calmed me down a little bit because I was a kind of a jerk. But it was also there's fewer people the church is actually getting more and more. The Goffstown Congregational Church is getting fuller and fuller as time goes on.
Yeah.
How many people are typically there for service?
It's about 120 on a Sunday now.
Oh, that's pretty good.
On an average Sunday. For New England, that's
Yeah,
good
no,
size.
that is.
Anyway, if you would lead us in prayer for those
Sure.
those poor
For
kids and
The
people,
Miller family,
the Miller family, and the obviously for those
for the dad, and
but also for the kids in Connecticut and
Oh,
stuff too.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
while we're at it,
shall we pray?
yes, please.
All right. Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful that you are God and that we are not, because God, our ways just get so far off track, and we are just so self-focused at times. And Father, we want to be focused on others right now, and we ask especially for this Miller family, who right now is going through a terrible time. Mr. Miller, in particular, sick. God, I pray that they would know your presence right now, that they would sense your peace that just transcends all human understanding, and that as John and others go to be with that family, God, that you would just provide them with comfort in every way. Lord, be with them tonight. We also think of those kids, the families, and Sandy Hook, and those children that were just taken away in a matter of moments. Lord, that just we don't even know how to pray for those things, God. We just ask that your Spirit would intercede for us now. You know the needs of each family. God, you know the anxiousness that each one of us has over situations like that. And God, we just ask that you would be with them in every way. God, that you would be ministering to them through all the people that have gone to serve and to help out there. God, at times like this, it's always the question we have is why. But Father, you just show us what we need to do next, and help us to trust in you in the midst of this, and to work for the sake of your kingdom and for the peace that will come. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's why I usually fall asleep during church.
Says he'd be a good hypnotist. Just
He is,
hypnotic
yeah. No, I just every time I do that, I can't pray. At home, I'm the same way. As soon as I close my eyes to pray, it's like my body just.
You
Are
keep
you-
them open. You
Huh?
could keep them open. You have to
I
close them.
have to start trying something because I can't. I'm not. That wasn't actually a cut towards you. It was
No,
actually
I get it.
me personally.
Right.
Every time I try to pray,
Are you narcoleptic?
I'm not into that weird stuff. You cotton picking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I often imply horrible things. No, but are you one of those people though who can go to sleep at any time if you want to? Like you know.
When Matt's talking to me, I mean.
Well, I am a hypnotist.
Yeah,
you know.
so
You
go-
might find yourself feeling a little drowsy.
Actually, kind of. I mean, I wouldn't call it narcolepsy because I don't. It's not.
Right, but you're always like a little tired because I'm like that sometimes where I could just take a nap at any time.
It's like growing up. I was as a trade. I was always a tool maker, and that was good for me because I was always doing something. I
Right.
couldn't imagine sitting in front of a computer terminal doing stuff all day.
Yeah,
If I did, I'd just pass out.
yeah.
Especially if it was work related.
I can relate to that. I understand that. Yeah.
So I did appreciate, especially when I was younger, having because it seems like my body is either all it just does that. It just I went up to I got sworn in today up at the State House because I had missed 2 weeks ago and everybody else is getting sworn in because I was
Yeah.
sick, and where was I? So I was. I partially because I was sick, but I was sitting there falling asleep waiting for they had little kids up there singing and stuff like that, and to our governor and things. It was pretty cute.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've always been like that. I really have a hard time praying and things like that. Where if I calm down enough to pray, I'm just about at that switch point where I want to just pass out. You
Yep.
supposed to have that on?
We have a text.
Uh-oh, we have a text.
Little Mel, viewer says polyphasic sleep. That's probably a clinical term. Polyphasic sleep. Polyphasic. That's what it is.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know what text. You know what that means?
I have no idea. I just know that I can fall asleep really quick. Just about,
Really?
in
Yeah.
less than a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
I can just focus and
Yeah.
out.
But anyway, so let's see news. Let's talk about. We'll first go over the news. Obviously, what happened in Connecticut was so amazingly horrible. I'd suggest to the viewers make sure you talk to your kids about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I spent some time with Scotty because I didn't my 7-year-old Saturday. Specifically because I want to spend time with him because after seeing something like that, you want to spend time with your grandkids, you know what I mean, or kids, whatever. It's just that so horrible. And what I did is try to put it in perspective. I says, it was really, really horrible what happened, but the chances of I took him to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm wicked cheap. I give him $5 worth of tokens and then say okay, and that's it. I don't buy him lunch there and all that other stuff, just too much money. But anyway, on the way to
The pizza's terrible.
yeah, but I told him, I says, you really should understand, as horrible as that is and as scary as that might sound, what happened to those kids. The chances of us dying on the way to Chuck E. Cheese is so much greater.
Probably more likely to be struck by lightning than
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Even though that's coming in the news and people are talking about it, in perspective, it's the probability of that happening is very, very low.
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's good to tell kids that because it
Yeah.
gives them some sense of security or perspective, because the way the news media is jumping all over this thing, I think it's more political than it is reality.
Well,
He put it in perspective. In Chicago, 30 children die every month from gunshots.
right.
Every month. I mean, there's over 400 kids in Chicago that have died just this year.
Right, and no one notices.
And
no one.
I don't know, maybe it's because they're black. It's okay.
I think there is I think there is some of that
I don't
subconsciously
know,
in our culture.
you know?
I think that's absolutely in the inner cities. That even if they're not black, if they're in the inner city, well, whatever. That's like a different part of America that we pretend isn't there.
Yeah, I know, and it's so we have to try to keep this in perspective.
Right.
There's already, obviously, at the state level, there's all kinds of calls for gun control, and on the federal level, there's call for gun control. And remember, we had Professor Smith on
Professor Smith.
when we were talking about bullying.
Oh wow, that was way back. Yeah, that goes back, but I do remember him. Yes.
And I was kind of a jerk to him because we were.
You bullied him.
I bullied him.
Yes.
I was bullying him, and I asked him because I had heard this up at the legislature, but I wasn't positive it was true. I said, "What was their?" Because he had gone and studied all the Columbine shooters and these shooters and pardon me, had done a lot of extensive research on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I was told at the legislature that one common thread is most of these people are on medication like Xantex or whatever, I don't know what it is, and he said at the time, he says, well, yeah, there's some variable there or something like that. He just kind of passed it off.
I remember that.
And I said, "What? No, wait, right?"
You pressed him on
I
it.
pressed him. I said,
correctly.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really antagonize guests when we have them, but it was such a vague answer from somebody who'd done that much research was not really acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think he said it was well over 75%. A statistic that he wanted to pass off as insignificant.
Right.
When it's most of the time, it is the case.
Yeah.
And like I posted on Facebook, in the past 40 years, we've decimated the family. Half of marriages break up. Most kids are I think you've only got probably 30 or 40% of boys are brought up with a male role model in the home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 60%. 30 or 40% are brought up without a role model in the home.
Okay, right.
Okay? And that's where boys learn their limitations.
Yeah.
And then to compensate for that, we put them on these drugs.
Yeah.
When they have emotional problems, which people, some kids are more vulnerable than others, and they're going to have problems, and so we drug them and then wonder why.
Can't have children acting like children. We have to medicate them.
Absolutely.
Turn them into little zombies.
Exactly. And so a lot goes into what happened last week, and
I think too, and this is something I had said earlier on Norman Friends, that I think we're just there's a message in our culture that life is cheap. It's the value for life.
I'm cheap.
There's no. Right. Well, I know you didn't even buy your grandkids some crappy pizza at Chuck E. Cheese.
And look who has the coffee and
know,
who doesn't.
Right? We actually have a call. Should we grab this?
yes.
Hi, welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hey, it's Kev.
Hey, Kev. What's
I
up?
just had a question. Well, not really a question. I just wanted to make an observation that, why didn't Obama cry like that when hundreds and hundreds of children are killed by the weapons that he sends over to these other countries?
Oh, you mean like Fast and Furious?
Not just that. I mean, you don't think that our government is sending any weapons over to Syria and Libya and things like that, and that little baby children and things like that aren't getting killed by those weapons?
Well, of course.
Of course they are. But
For the greed of the government to tell some other country what to do?
Yeah, but that's different because it's not in Connecticut.
Well,
yeah, that sounds kind of weird. That's kind of a double standard.
I know. I'm just being facetious. So
no, but that is the attitude, right? They're not our kids dying
so
overseas, and again, life is cheap anyway. So I mean, that's kind of the attitude.
Oh, I lost a friend. Oh, thank you for the
You
call.
were talking about the medication too and things like that.
Yeah.
You do realize that the government tested out a lot of medication and things like that on young poor people, foster children, things like that.
Oh, I'm sure our government's done all kinds of horrific
That is
things.
a fact.
I don't doubt it.
Easily found.
Well, yeah, I know they've
believe
done
it.
all kinds of horrible things on testing on people. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit off subject. But yeah, we should do a show on that sometime.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
you're absolutely correct.
my point is simply that, the government is taking liberties with people's tragedies to push an agenda, and it's strictly political.
Oh, I agree. This is
And
all
people
political.
have the wool pulled over their eyes by mainstream media, sugarcoating things and structuring it and then bringing it to the American people in such a way that they are using it. And it's just wrong.
Yep.
And, does WMUR, are they, not seeing things and not reporting things? I don't think that they're reporting a lot of stuff that's actually going on.
No, they don't report a lot of things that are going on. Just the fact that thousands and thousands of people every year use guns to defend their home, or to stop a burglary, to stop a home invasion, or to stop a rape. They never report that.
It's a known fact that states that are armed have low crime rates.
That is true. New Hampshire, we're armed to the teeth here, and this is an incredibly safe place to live.
I mean, that was one of the points I was bringing up about Chicago, when you have 30 kids dying a month, over 30. They have the strictest gun control and some of the strictest gun control in the country.
Yes.
So people can't defend themselves.
Right.
But anyway, thank you for the call, sir.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
But anyway, Pastor, this is it. I kind of wanted today's show to be kind of cheery and stuff because it's Christmas, but
We're off to a great start.
but it's
This is a big event that happened.
but it's kind of it'd be almost
well, we don't have Santa here.
we don't have Santa here, so it ruined our lives.
I know.
Jerk. But no, the subject comes up because to me, I actually lost a friend. That's what I was going to say before you called. If you remember, quite a while ago, we had the Skeptics Society,
Oh, yeah.
New Hampshire Skeptics.
Travis Roy.
Travis Roy, right.
And his wife, I forget.
Travis Roy defriended me this Saturday or Friday night, I think it was.
He did?
Yeah, because I posted a video from, now I'm going to forget his name. Huckabee, Mike Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee, yep.
And my computer my internet stopped working before the show, and I was going to try to review what the video was. But I think it was something to the effect of...
Oh, I know.
What was it?
Was it Mike Huckabee talking about the reason this happened is because we've taken God out of the schools? Because that's got a lot of people upset.
Oh yeah, that's probably it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is evil is a real entity, just like good. People, people do good and people do evil, and if you eliminate God from school or any comment about God, like remember when we had the kids on for Thanksgiving, there was talk about Thanksgiving. The kids are taught in school now that Thanksgiving was all about giving thanks to the Indians, and the probability of a bunch of pilgrims getting together and thanking the Indians for food is pretty insane. They might have been grateful to the Indians, but I'm quite confident that that they were giving thanks to God for taking care of them, and so we're basically extracting God from any even comment, even historic reference to God in the schools. And so if there is no God, if there is no plus, what fills the void is evil. I mean, there's a lot of evil that goes on and like especially this kid's life that went nuts.
Yeah, I didn't see the Mike Huckabee video, so I don't know exactly what he said. But I mean, if he said that this was God's judgment for...
I don't know. No,
He didn't
no.
say that. He didn't say
Because
that.
that would be a little extreme.
It wasn't like Pat Robertson blaming hurricanes on gay people.
I'm glad to hear that.
It wasn't that.
That's really not
That's why we have hurricanes?
According to Pat Robertson, yes.
Because
God's
there's
angry.
no one that can answer the question why God allowed that to happen, right? Because, I mean, that's the hard question people always have. Why did God let that happen? And... but you can answer the question, why did it happen? And that is just because of the fallen nature of the world we live in. I mean, you look all around and you see disease, decay,
Right.
people.
Mental illness.
I mean,
Yeah.
every one of us.
Oh, sorry.
Every one of us is capable and of evil on some level, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Well, I'm a
just
paragon of virtue.
just
but-
on the way here. I mean, Gary almost made me park in a. I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No, I mean, we are all. No, seriously though,
Christmas.
there is something about us that is broken. You know,
Sure.
that isn't the way that God created
Yeah.
the world, and so, you know, we see that evil within us, and that is just the nature of the world, and that is actually why Jesus had to come at Christmas, really, to not only to save people from their sins so that they wouldn't be judged guilty by God, but also when Christ returns, when he redeems not just people, he's going to redeem the whole creation so that there will be no more evil and so forth. But right now we're sort of under that whole curse from, you know, the disobedience of man in the beginning when man rebelled against God.
Yeah, I think there is a inclination to want to blame God for things like this. I mean, and I think we all do it in our own hearts. I know I have over the years. Some things bad happen. You want to blame God. You get mad at God.
Yeah.
And when things are really good, do we ever thank God necessarily? We kind of think
That's only if you're
we've
winning
done a
an
good
award.
job.
If you're winning an award or a sports event, you thank God.
yes,
traditionally, but-
absolutely have to. But
Touchdown. But and that's, you know, that's great. You know, thank God for everything, really, all good things that we have. But a lot of times we forget that as well.
yeah, but I think you're right. The fallen nature of man, we are evil. We're capable of both evil and good, and like this whoever, what I actually forgotten the guy's name, which is probably good. I don't
like to say his name.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to give
I
him
just
credit.
call him the shooter.
The shooter.
That's it.
He obviously was devoid. You know, there's something inside him. It just over time, whatever reason, he is just basically further into some sort of
Madness. or
madness.
something,
Yeah.
I mean, because madness and evil is the same thing as depression. It's similar to depression. You know, depression is like this void that we or self-perpetuating syndrome. You know, you get depressed and then you start seeing everything else or justifying the depression, and it continues further and further and further down until it almost envelops you like a, you know, going to bed at night and having them pulling the blankets over you. It almost becomes comforting. And evil's the same way in a person's life. If once you start going down that path and allowing yourself to be filled with hate or resentment or things like that, it overtakes you over time, and it becomes you,
Sure.
and you can't see beyond it. It's like there isn't really much difference between that person who took those kids' lives and somebody who took their own life.
Right. We have another call. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Don,
Hi, Don.
how you doing?
Good.
You know, the thing is that everything happens for a reason. We can't appreciate good unless we see evil.
Yep.
Without dark, there is no light. It's
I don't know if I buy that.
What, that everything happens for a reason?
No, that we can't appreciate. There has to be a yin and a yang, because if when we go to heaven, those kids that died last Friday are in the care of God, and
Yes, they are.
I am positive that the only thing up there that surrounds them is good
Well, you
and
know,
love.
the thing is,
So there is no, in heaven there is no yin and yang. It's just and you don't evil is not necessary for good to exist.
well, you know, I believe that you can't enjoy summer unless you have a winter. And everything that happens, whether it be the crucifixion was a terrible thing to happen to one man, God, Jesus Christ. But this happened because he had to have that sacrifice to forgive our sins.
Yep.
So there was some good out of it. Everything that happens for a reason.
Yes.
And we're to learn how to treat our fellow man as best that we can.
Yep.
You know,
God says you'll only have one God. This is true. Treat your neighbor as you would yourself. This is what you're supposed to do. Not kill, not cover your woman, not steal.
No, absolutely.
You know, so when you see something bad like this happen, you work twice as hard to treat the young kids and the people around you with kindness, because you're an instrument of the Lord. You're supposed to be protecting the youth and to be helping the old.
Well, and it reminds you too when something like this happens of how precious the people in your life are, and how it's important to appreciate them.
Yes, they are.
And not to take people
Whether
for
they live in
granted.
Japan or next door, they're your neighbors.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and there is this sense that what someone intended for evil, God will use for good. So,
Yes, absolutely.
not that what happened to those kids was
Hey,
good.
y'all have a great Christmas.
Thank you very
You
much,
too.
sir. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Don. Little Mel texts and says, so if we put God in schools, what about those students who do not believe in the Christian God, or they worship a goddess or several gods or no God? How is that fair to them? How is that fair to basically force people to believe something?
Boy,
Well,
That's a big question.
It is a big question, but I'll tell you, I was at the at the executive council with the governor today, and before they had started the process, they started out with a pledge of allegiance and a prayer. The chaplain in the house started that session off with a prayer, and there were children there, and I don't think they were that corrupted by it.
Right.
I think we have to, if we're going to start truly loving one another, and that's basically what happened last week, is people are full of hate and resentment, and you see it in the newspaper and everywhere you turn right now is people are full of hatred and anger and frustration and envy and everything else, all those bad things, and we have to start being accepting and loving one another. And one way to do that is praying. And when Judge Hugo Black wrote his decision to get rid of prayer in school, it was kind of ironic, because he said that there are those who believe that if we take prayer out of school, that over time we will end up with animosity towards Christianity. Mm-hmm. He says nothing could be further from the truth, because Christianity is so ingrained into the culture that it will never come to that. Which is funny, because that's exactly what's happening. Over time, people are getting more and more resenting Christianity, resenting God and things like this. And like the killing last week happens, and people get mad at God for that. So I don't have a problem with that. The prayer that was actually kicked out of school in New York was so generic that it really wouldn't have been offensive to anybody but maybe an atheist. Mm-hmm. And how they could resent God
When they don't believe
when
in
they
him.
don't believe in him. That's like somebody resenting Santa Claus because you don't believe in him.
Right.
But
Well,
I mean, the texter said that something about making people believe in God. You're not going to make anyone
right.
believe in God. That's not necessarily. But a lot of this points to, I don't want the government involved in the church. I don't think they should be. They're not. They're two separate spheres, and they should be separate. And to say that someone's going to believe because you're going to make them pray, that's not necessarily true. And I don't think Christians should be trying to force other people to pray or to do anything. You need to share that with them. And it's also wrong, I believe, to think that the schools should be indoctrinating our children in religion. I think that's the parents' responsibility.
Right. I agree with you.
Which points to a whole bigger issue in this shooter situation, is that the breakdown in the family that's going on out there, and
Yep.
It causes all these problems. And if that's, but
Yeah, we've decimated the family over the past 40 years. So.
And in doing so, you end up with kids who are raised by the internet and reality TV and
Yeah,
all
right,
kinds of-
which is totally unreal.
right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. People that should be on the table is video games. Not that video games should be illegal, but should we be allowing 14-year-old children to sit at home all day playing what's the warfare one? The
Oh, there's so many now. There's Halo, and there's there's something
because
with
one of the
warfare in
things
it.
that really blows my mind as far as some of these shootings is in World War II, only about 10% of the GIs could actually shoot another human being.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in combat, humans are wired not to want to kill each other. And so when they were actually faced with a situation where they had to shoot, they might shoot randomly, but they had only about 10% of them could actually point a gun at somebody else and pull the trigger. They did some things to try to remedy that by Vietnam, and the fact of the matter, if you hear cops go into a situation where they have to shoot, their accuracy goes, because of the adrenaline and the excitement or whatever, their accuracy goes to heck. It's very, very difficult to be accurate when that much adrenaline's running through your system. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these shooters are very accurate. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's to me that tells me that they're completely devoid of any kind of conscience.
Yeah, like they're sociopathic.
But the other thing, or maybe they're medicated. I think it's most likely the case, medicated enough to shut that part of their brain off.
Yeah.
But also it requires a certain amount of training, which would be the video games.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because it's just really difficult for a normal human being to be that effective in a situation like that.
Well, plus a 14-year-old kid playing those games, again, I think that kind of reinforces too the idea that life is cheap. Oh, it's fun to go around, even if it's in a video game.
Yep.
It's just good fun to go around and pretend to be shooting someone.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of get it. I mean, I like video games, so
Yeah.
it's hard not to like it. But by the same token, should we be allowing our children to get that polluted that young?
Right. I would, if I were a parent,
if
I
you're
wouldn't
over
want that.
21 or 18
Right,
or whatever,
you're an adult. Yeah.
it's kind of hard to restrict that. But
We have another text from a viewer, our friend Jim, also known as Moose46. He said, we should have the 10 Commandments back in school. I would disagree.
really,
Yeah. Because I want to leave religion out of the school. I think you can teach. I think you can teach basic Judeo-Christian values like "Thou shalt not kill" and so forth without literally bringing the 10 Commandments back in school. I'm very uncomfortable with that.
I think I don't know that you're completely correct. I bet you could come up with some common thread, and not the 10 Commandments, because it also has boy, I'm really good. It talks about the Sabbath, and it talks about you shall have no God before me.
Right.
But there are common things that you could have that every religion agrees on.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think in the schools they should be teaching ethics and morals and things like that, but just not literally the 10 Commandments. I don't want to walk into a public school and see the 10 Commandments on the wall.
I think it wouldn't hurt anything to say that these fundamental principles are something every religion preaches. No?
Yeah, but then you're. I don't know. I don't want.
Okay.
I like the separation of church and state.
I mean, as a parent, I wouldn't want some non-Christian. My wife's a school teacher, public school teacher.
Yeah.
I would love to have her teach my children, but maybe not someone else's mother or father who might, not have the same belief I do, Christian
Right.
belief. I wouldn't want them teaching them Christianity from their perspective, because so many people, as you were talking earlier, have kind of made it into sort of this American religion, which it isn't, and then have just sort of made it like the Barney God, the God of my imagination. So
the Barney God? I've never heard
Barney.
of that.
You never heard of Barney, the purple dinosaur?
Purple dinosaur, yeah.
Everything's about his imagination. So it's
okay.
Your imagination. It's you come up with what. Well, I think God. You hear people say that quite often. I think God is like this.
Right.
And that's great. That's what you would like God to be.
But that doesn't make him.
But that doesn't mean that God is
No,
like
just
that.
because you want God to be like
Right.
Santa Claus doesn't make him like Santa Claus.
Right.
Theoretically. Maybe. It should be, though.
I don't know, because Santa Claus is like the big
big-
fat dude. I imagine God to be in really good shape.
Really?
Yeah, like ripped, like a wrestler or something. I imagine God to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Hulk Hogan.
but without the cursing.
Right.
Maybe more like Hogan.
Yeah.
I think God would have a full head of hair.
White.
Obviously.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
This happens.
Exactly what I'm talking about. I'm glad you guys aren't teaching my kids.
Really, I think we're very qualified.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that I heard this on the news. I think it was today that they started out schools down in Connecticut with like a moment of silence,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Taking a moment to reflect on, reflect. What do you reflect on in a moment of silence? I know what I do. I fall asleep, but
I reflect on how quiet it is.
it's like
wow.
was it quiet?
That's something we need more of, actually.
Yeah, probably. But that's another way to look at it. Why there is no harm in a moment of reflection before
not
the
at
day
all.
starts.
Right.
But I think there are. What if you started teaching children natural law?
And defined as what? What do you define as natural law?
Natural law was the idea that, and it's kind of a libertarian have taken up this mantle, but that there are some that my rights end where yours begin, and start teaching kids at least that minimum ethics, so that your ability to do things is your liberty is completely limited by when it starts infringing on others. Isn't that like a minimum of amount of what we can agree on as a culture is okay,
I would agree with that.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you could actually teach them about the Constitution at the same time,
Right. Right.
because
Those are things that we really don't get taught in school, do we? About the Constitution and
no,
Not anymore.
that
Or-
sort of
no,
thing.
no.
It's really important to know in history too. It's become. It's just not as prevalent as it used to be.
Well, they can't
Don't
because it
understand.
talks about morality and piety and like our state constitution talks about the need to have Christians basically as legislators and things like that. So they can't really teach that anymore because it's
Right.
And if you're
offensive.
revising history, then it's always hard to really know.
right. They revise it
teaching.
all the time.
Yeah.
Moose 46 comments that if the mother had if the mother had trigger locks on her weapons, could this situation be avoided?
Yeah, no, I'm not going there. I'll tell you why I don't go there, because the whole trigger locks and things like that. First of all, the kid's home alone, I believe, wasn't he? Well, he
I think-
shot her, so
Right.
there's some way to overcome that. Okay, you get a hacksaw or something. There's a way to overcome that. But that's not the real point. The real point is the progression works like this. First, you say guns all should be locked up in your home,
Yeah.
right?
No, absolutely. If you got kids in the house, absolutely.
Well, he wasn't a kid. He was 20.
No, that's true.
Okay, so guns should be locked up in the home. Then the next question is, and I listened to a radio program in Boston talking about this, and they said, so they're talking to a caller, and they says, so how long would it take you to actually access your firearms? And they said, oh, it'd take me like a couple minutes because I have to unlock this and unlock that and get to them. And so the next thing is, well, if you can't get to them within a minute or two, it's already too late. You don't really need them, do you?
Right.
So it's a catch-22. If you start saying that you have to have locks,
Right. If you're
then the gun's inaccessible, so you don't really need the gun anyway.
it's
so
too late to defend yourself. If it's a home invasion or something.
yeah.
Too, yeah.
Oh yeah, before I forget, keep
Yes.
in mind that while we were watching this garbage happen down in Connecticut by this unbalanced individual, there was an unbalanced individual in China that was hacking somebody up with a knife.
Yeah, like 22 people.
22
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like the same day, the same
I know.
situation, just different,
Bizarre.
different means by which to do it. So
Yeah.
the gun's really not that relevant.
Little Mel has a comment on video games. She says parents need to regulate. Oh, I keep hitting that button. Parents need to regulate which games their kids are allowed to play. I agree. If you're 14 years old, can't see that Halo or Call of Duty are just games, then they shouldn't be allowed to play them. Also, if someone is old enough to know games aren't reality and they still want to be violent, then obviously they have psychological issues, and that would be there even without video games.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree that. But
Yeah.
and the other thing that I've always said against that premise of regulating video games is, I guess I'm too old, but when I was a kid, we always used to play Army.
Oh, sure. Yeah, G.I.
We
Joe and all
used
that.
to run around pretending to kill each other all the time.
Right, yeah. Cops and robbers, and you
Cops and
pretend to shoot at
robbers,
each other, yeah.
Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
World War II. World War II movies were on all the time when I was
sure.
a kid.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We had Combat was my favorite TV show. and Rat Patrol.
I've never heard of
You
that.
never saw Rat Patrol?
No.
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's
did you
Heroes.
remember
They still
Rat
have
Patrol?
reruns, yeah.
No.
Rat Patrol was great because they had a couple of. Basically, these guys had a couple of Jeeps with, I think, 50 caliber machine guns on the back of the Jeep. And for some reason, they were really, really good at overtaking tanks and blowing them up. And they were so superior to the Germans, it was unbelievable. Patton, all he needed was a couple more of those guys, and they would have easily been able to beat Rommel.
Yeah.
If you watched the show, you'd know. But anyway, but yeah, we used to pretend to kill each other all the time as kids.
Right.
And I used to bring my gun on the bus to go to school.
Your gun?
Yeah.
Your toy gun?
No.
Real gun?
High school. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
That's 30 minutes outside of Boston,
Oh.
where I was on the shooting team.
Oh, okay.
You know, so the guns were accessible in 40 years ago.
Do they have shooting teams today in high school? Probably not, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too.
Did you grow up with guns? And
We did, yeah. Yeah, I owned a gun.
you did? Mm-hmm. Was it good?
Good for what?
Did you go? Did you go like?
It's good for
hunting?
shooting cans and things out of trees.
Things out of trees.
Yeah.
All kids did that back then, though,
It's just kind of a curiosity
right?
boy thing, but yeah.
Right. We had 22s or pellet guns. We'd go
Yeah.
out back and
Yeah.
shoot and shoot
Exactly.
and shoot.
I had water guns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and a cap gun at one point. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's why you're so violent.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But any more stuff before we run out of time you'd like to talk about? Kind of, we should, I guess, end on Christmas anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this just points to the need for Jesus, I think. He came, God really broke into this world. We think so many times that we have to go up to God, right? All religions, except for Christianity, really say that we kind of have to go up to get to God. But God came down to us out of love for us and to save us from kind of where we're at right now. And this, unless He comes back, I don't think that's happening Friday.
Friday.
But unless Christ comes back, we're not going to see peace on earth until that time.
Should we grab this
Yeah,
really quick?
sure.
Okay. Hi, welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's on the air? Who's on the line? We're on the air.
Hi, this is Deborah.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, I'm calling because I just wanted you folks to know that I went to the police station today. I wanted my fellow citizens in Manchester to know that there was quite a lot of activity at the police station today with people applying for their concealed carry gun permits.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And I'm 56 years old, and not that I intended to do this in my lifetime, but I feel safer now.
Oh, you applied for it today?
I feel safer already. And knowing that my fellow Manchester citizens a lot of them have gone over there today because there was a stack 1 inch thick of
Wow.
applications.
Wow.
So anyway, I just think it's our duty, and I'm just trying to do the right thing here, and we're going to defend our property, ourselves, our families, and our neighborhood.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always thought, Deb, that if in the newspaper people read on a periodic basis, or once in a while anyway, that a man was shot in crotch after attempted rape, there wouldn't be any attempted rapes?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And,
You're right, but there's a lot more going on, and we just need to be vigilant. And I'm just doing it the American way.
Atta girl. Good. Thank
right,
you.
take care.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
I just actually I just hadn't gotten around to it, but I had to renew my pistol permit. I put that application actually last Friday, which kind of felt weird doing it on Friday, but it was still renewing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Oh, before I forget, you remember we had Paul Ingerton,
Yes.
and he had the Committee of Redress in the State House. Under Bill O'Brien, they had a Committee of Redress. So if people had like an issue, judge treated you badly or the town treated you badly, and you have no, you don't have the resource to sue everybody, you could, you're supposed to be able to, under the Constitution, have redresses of grievances. In other words, a place to go in the legislature to approach the government and say, hey, I need you to remedy this situation. And it was under Bill O'Brien. Then that committee was actually, before that, under Norelli, we had a ad hoc committee of redress, and then Bill O'Brien added it so that it's a regular committee.
Yeah.
And Terry Norelli and the Democrats are trying to get rid of it.
That's too
they're
bad.
voting on that tomorrow. So if people want to call their legislators and say don't support getting rid of the Committee of Redress, that was the one that was really effective at trying to find out what was going on in some of the family courts, like in Derry. And now they're going to be far less accountable.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's really horrible. But and they want to make the legislature a gun-free zone.
Yeah. How long is it hasn't always been the case that you've been able to bring a gun in there, right? It
has.
It really?
Yeah, remember we had Lou D'Alessandro on. He says, "Well, we never allowed guns in the State House or the legislature," and I had to remind him. I said, "Well, don't you remember Stretch Kennedy?" He says, "Well, yeah, but Stretch Kennedy is kind of Stretch used to. I don't know how many guns the guy used to have on him.
Yeah.
But it had to be a lot. He was an ex-cop, and he had been shot before, and there's no way he was going anywhere without a gun on him.
Right.
And people knew it.
Yeah.
And people didn't care.
Yeah. Well, when a guy's name is Stretch, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody gives a guy named Stretch a hard time. Oh, that's just Stretch.
Right, exactly. So it was. But anyway, ever since I've been up there, when I first was elected, they said you had to check them before you went into the chambers. And there was like a little locked place.
Yeah.
And I kind of did that for a while until I noticed nobody else was doing it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This is okay, whatever.
Huh.
So I don't know what the Democrats are going to use this as an opportunity to try to extract guns from the State House. So that means if somebody decides to go nuts in the State House, there'll, in theory, be nobody there to stop it.
Right.
Because like this young lady that just called, she is not a threat to society.
Right.
She's going through the legal process. She's getting a permit to carry. There is no way that she's a threat to anybody. It's the people that, like that kid in Connecticut, that are absolutely out of their mind, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can't fix insanity like that to prevent them from doing some harm. I mean, what's his name? He blew up the Federal Mural building. There's no guns in that. There's explosives.
Right.
If people want to do harm, they can find a way to do it, whether
Right.
they can get a gun or not. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy in China is an example of that. He just used a knife. In Mount Vernon, we had the guy with the machete. The
Yeah.
kids with the machetes. I mean, if people are that psychologically unbalanced, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Right. Absolutely.
And having more people like that young lady who just called that could actually stop a situation, the better. I mean, if I posted on Facebook that in Israel, where they have it's different because it's not people that are psychologically unbalanced, theoretically. It's actually Muslim terrorists who want to kill children. And so the teachers are armed.
Yeah.
You know, because the Israelis have been dealing with that kind of insanity for so many years. They're really very good at it.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember there was quite a few years ago, there was a case where 3 Muslims jumped up, and it was like a crowd, almost like, say, similar to, say, the food court and the mall.
Yeah.
These three guys jumped up and pulled these guns out of their bag because they were just going to kill as many Jews as they possibly could in a short amount of time as they could. 2 of them were dead within 2 seconds, and the other one gave up.
Wow.
Okay, it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you might not have heard is that the reason that mall shooting in Oregon stopped is that there was a guy with a concealed carry permit, had his gun on him. The guy ran away and shot himself.
Oh, okay.
He had trained his gun on him, and I guess the guy noticed it and realized that the gig was up. He didn't actually shoot because there was somebody in back of the guy with the AR-15.
Right.
So
We gotta go.
yeah, sorry I was late, Matt. You're all right.
That's all right.
Pastor,
Hey,
you're a wonderful guy.
hey, thanks for having me here.
Very good to
And
see you
if,
again.
when's the New Year's Eve service? Would it be on New Year's Eve?
The Christmas Eve service
Christmas Eve, yeah, that's
will
what I
be
meant.
on December 24th, Christmas Eve, 7 o'clock. Congregational Church of Goffstown in Goffstown, and we still have a couple of seats left.
We have 2 seats left.
No,
So,
really come. It's great. Get out to church, hear the story of Christmas.
Sing.
It's a time when we need peace on earth, and this is a good way to
absolutely.
hear that message of peace that really is.
The Goss
available.
Congregational Church is the big white one in the center of town.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I've seen it,
Yeah,
actually.
it's the white one.
Yeah. the
7
white one.
o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Carols and candles and the story
Carols.
of Christmas.
Story of Christmas, candles, and is there free booze?
There's eggnog,
There's
coffee,
Coffee.
homemade cookies.
Homemade cookies. Okay.
There's
okay.
no gun check.
No gun check?
No, but
Not
Nice.
yet. Not yet. If they ever have one, it'll just because of me.
That's right.
please
trying to
keep it in
keep
your
me out.
pocket. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
Yeah, thanks
You're
for
a
having me.
wonderful
It's good
guy.
to see you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll
Gary,
see
Merry
you
Christmas.
after the New Year.
We'll see you next year, yeah.
No, is it next year?
Technically, right?
Right? I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe not.
Thank you very much, Matt. You're wonderful.
Well, thank you. You as well. We'll see y'all later.